Hello and welcome. Chef Pennington here, Liqueur and Blue Train Chef, and today we're going to do some challah bread. A very interesting, very cool Jewish bread that's usually made over the holidays. It is fluffy, it's beautiful, it looks complicated. It can be complicated. We're going to make it not complicated. I've really thought this through on how I'd like to explain it to y'all. If this is your first time visiting, please subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post new content. So challah bread is very cool. It is a matter of braiding ropes that we're going to create from a fairly simple dough, and then we are going to develop the gluten, and then we're going to form it. So here's a really important thing. There are lots of different types of yeast. There's dry active, there's fresh. We're going to use instant yeast. It works fantastic. You add a little bit of sugar to it, and it takes off. It's going to eat the sugar, and it's going to bubble up, and it's going to get really big. This is a leavening agent. This is going to help our bread grow in size and end up being nice and fluffy. So that water right there that we just put it into, that's roughly an eighth of a cup of water. And you want it to be about 110 degrees. It needs to be warm for the yeast to activate. If it's just room temperature, you're not going to get much activation. It'll activate a little bit, but nothing like this. You can see that this is very healthy. It's probably the way to describe it. If nothing happened, that just means that your yeast was dead. It wasn't stored appropriately. I'll have a link below talking about yeasts and how the different types and how to store them, all that good stuff. So we have egg and butter in there. It's melted butter, obviously. And we're going to get our yeast in there, and we're just going to give it a really quick little mix. So we bring everything together before we start adding in our other ingredients. This is all in real time here. There's no speeding it up. So this is just really quick and to the point. And we're going to start adding in the flour little by little. Pretty standard procedure here. But if we dumped it in all in once, it just somehow doesn't come together correctly. Like the hydration from the water and the butter is really important, and that's why we put it in stages. This is also going to let us know if our flour is really hydrating, meaning that as we add this flour in, we may not need all the flour. You might need more flour. So think of the recipe as an approximate, because all flours don't hydrate the exact same. Even the same brand, 2 different bags, it came from different parts of the field when it was harvested. So that's something that's really interesting. So as we're adding it here, I can see that it's pulling away from the bowl. And that is the telltale sign that our dough is coming together. And if it's come together very nicely, then you can stop adding flour. But the recipe is very precise. It's 3.5 cups. Okay, we've switched out the paddle attachment over to the dough hook, and this is where we're going to start developing the gluten. So this is going to go for 6 to 8 minutes. If you'd like to do this by hand, no problem. You can do it in a large mixing bowl and then turn it out onto your work surface. But this is going to be our first proofing. Okay, so we brought it all together. We went for roughly 8 minutes, and now we're going to give it an hour, and it's going to double in size. You really want it to double in size because then we can punch it down. This is standard bread making procedure. So that's what the yeast did. It caused it to grow. This is the first stage of getting fluffy bread, which is what we all very much enjoy. Unless we're making flatbread, which is just bread that doesn't have a leavening agent in it. And I have an article actually on unleavened bread. I'll put a link below for that. It's a really interesting subject. Lots of cool breads can be made without leavening agents. Alrighty, here we go. We have brought this together. It's nice and flat. So what I've been doing by pushing down on it is I'm pushing the gas bubbles out that was created by the yeast. Okay. So now I'm getting into a uniform size, and I'm going to show you how to do a 3 rope, which is fairly easy, and then a 6 rope, which of course seems more intimidating. And at first glance, it looks intimidating, but I'm going to show you how to do it where it's going to be easy. So first I'm going to show you the 3 rope because this is the easy. I think a lot of people might find this, I don't know, the easier route, which is exactly what it is. And it looks beautiful still. So 6 ropes, 9 ropes, you can go as many as you can possibly manage. That's probably the right way of looking at it, knowing where you are in the steps. So the big tip I'll tell you about this is everything's about the middle. So as we take outside ropes, we keep bringing them into the middle. You're going to notice something very similar when we do the 6 ropes. So this is like braiding a girl's hair. or a guy. We keep coming over and over and over, bringing back to the middle, and we have our first braid done. So pretty easy, and it looks really nice. So here's how we prep the ropes. We take a piece and we flatten it out. That's getting the gas bubbles out again. And then you want to roll it over on itself. This is very important. This process right here is what's going to give it extra lift. It's going to, as it cooks in the heat in the oven, we've created seams inside of that rope. And as it heats up in the oven, it's going to cause it to poof up and expand and get that light, airy texture that you saw at the beginning of the video. All right, we've got 6 ropes. We're going to cover it up, and we're going to let it proof for the second time for 30 minutes. It's going to get a little bit bigger, and you can see how it's poofed up and the air is inside it once again. A lot of work, but a lot of reward. Making bread is very satisfying, and the house smells so wonderful. Like, who doesn't love the smell of fresh bread? So we're rolling out the gas bubbles, and we're forming it into its final shape that we're going to roll with. Okay, so this isn't going to be growing or changing. And we're going for about 1.5 feet. It's right around in that area. And the nice thing is once we start rolling this, you can roll as long as you want and then cut it off. You'll see. Okay, we're taking the outside braids and we're going to bring them over the top. This is our first move. We're always going to have braids at the top where the red arrows are marked, always. And we're going to be bringing them down to the middle. That's the motion. Every single time we're going to pick one of the tops and come to the middle. Now look at the very, 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 very top and how the top 2 ropes have overcome each other. Now how to pick which is supposed to go down the middle is going to depend on what you see right there. See how that the left side has already been over? Well, that means we want to come over the top. The whole entire process, if you look at that middle top piece, it'll tell you where you are in the process. I think that's really important. So we had to replace the top rope or braid every single time. That's the movement. So we've created a middle. We're going to come over into the middle. Now we take the one to the right back to the top. I know this looks complicated, but you're going to see it over and over. It's going to make more and more sense as we go along. So we replace the pieces, always coming down to the middle. You'll see we're coming back to the middle. Replace the top, down to the middle. Replace the top. And then we're going to bring the left one down to the middle. You can see right there that we're always crossing over the top piece. If you had taken it from the same side twice, it'll look weird. It'll let you know right away, like, this is not how this works. So we're always replacing the top pieces and coming down to the middle. So there'll always be 2 top pieces and then 2 underneath it. And then we'll have a middle. So we're coming down over the top into the middle. Got to replace the top. Top is replaced. And we come over the middle. It really does look hard because it takes a little bit of time to think about it, but there's no like super easy way to explain this. It really is a matter of getting involved, getting in there. You're going to make a mistake or two. The tip I really want to leave you with on this is the top. When you can see what has been crossed over on the top 2, it'll tell you like the top left braid's going to be next because we got to go over. Always replace the top. That's always how it works. Down to the middle. Got to replace the top. You're probably starting to notice a little bit how that works. You're probably going to need to see the video more than once. I suggest that when you decide to go braid, that you cue the video because you'll be able to watch and just back and forth. Egg wash. This is what's going to make it look so beautiful when it comes out of the oven. Some people like to use olive oil. Some use melted butter. They all work. I'm kind of classic because I'm French classically trained, so I'm using the egg wash. This is going to give it great presentation, plus it's going to give us texture on the outside, some sesame seeds. It's easy to overdo it, so that's really up to you how much you want to use. You can see I'm just lightly tapping, and then we're going to use some poppy seeds. So these are very, very traditional challah bread toppings, and it makes it look really, really beautiful. So 375 degrees. Until it's done. The internal temperature we're looking for is 190 degrees. When you hit 190 degrees, you can pull it out of the oven. It's good to go. And you're going to end up with some light, airy bread that is a little bit sweet because we did add 1/4 cup of sugar when we were doing our dry ingredients. And it has that buttery smell that comes through because we added some butter in there. So when it comes to bread, y'all, light, airy, lightly sweet with butter, come on. This is the bread of all breads. Please subscribe. We'd love to have y'all. So here we go. We're going to braid ropes again. I want to, this right here, just to show you all, to hammer it home how this is done. We always start at the top, okay? And we need to create a middle. So we're creating our middle by moving the bottom. I don't know if it's not bottom, but we got our top braids right there. We need to place one into the middle. Very important. So if you're looking at the very top, you can see the right side is the one we're going to start with because it has to come over the top of the top braid. And every single time it's about that spot I'm pointing at. Every single time. So we've come over. Now we're going to do what essentially is a reset. We got to bring that over to the top. And we're going to clear out space so that the middle can be filled, which will always be from a top braid. So we can look right at the very, very, very top. We can see the left braid's got to come over the top to cover the rope. And then we're going to always reset. So we have top 2 braids sitting there waiting for us, or ropes. I bet it's starting to look a little bit easier now seeing this the second time. So we have to reset. So bring it back to the top and create a middle. And you can look very at the top which braid's next. It's going to be the one on the left. We got to come over and create the braid. And we reset back to the top. And this is how it works, y'all. So you can see this is in real time. So this might be a little more helpful when it comes time to actually do this braid yourself and you cue the video up when you're in your kitchen going at it. Maybe you've already memorized how this needs to go. But this is how to make challah bread. So I hope you all enjoy. I'd love to see any kind of pictures of your end product. You can always find me on Facebook at Facebook.com/Butter-n-Thyme. Really would love to see it. Or tag me at on Instagram, so it'd be at Butter-n-Thyme. And here's your video. I'll leave it to y'all, and y'all have the very best. Take care.